Neanderthal, etc., a result of failed experimentations when the Anunnaki were modifying humans. Not necessarily failed experimentations. However, we do know that the existing hominid that was here, there were a couple here. One being obviously Neanderthal, and the other one being another type of a hominid, which is probably more closely related to us. What was a failed experiment was when they took the first hominids and they tried to clone them. They didn't try to mate them. They didn't want to set up a mating thing and have mating going on and having babies being born and all that. They started first by cloning them. They call it fashioning the people from the people. So they would take people and they would take some essence. When they say taking essence, they're talking about genetic material, and then they would clone them. The problem with the clones were the clones couldn't reproduce. So they got tired of doing the cloning too. They said, well, let these people start mating. They realized they couldn't mate. They could have, but there was no babies coming. They were barren. And so that became a big problem because they needed a workforce that can grow exponentially on its own. And so that's when they decided to put the egg, take the egg out of one of the existing hominids and put it in their own womb. That's what happened. And then one of the Anunnaki women took it to term for 10 months and gave birth to the Adamu, Adamu, which then means first man. And then they said, okay, now we got it. And once they got Adam grown and tried to mate him with these clones, that didn't work either. So then they said, okay, we got to make another one. So they made another one, called it Eve. And they made it Adam and Eve together, and boom, had a baby. So then they made more Adams and more Eves through genetic tinkering and in vitro fertilization. Not through having Adam and Eve create 8 billion people. Adam and Eve did not have and create the whole planet worth of people. There were already millions of people here, or hundreds of thousands at least, when Adam and Eve arrived. And Adam and Eve were just one of many that were then born in that particular way by taking a zygote and then using in vitro fertilization and then having them mate with each other at different specific times inside of the Garden of Eden, Edin in the ancient texts. It was a mating ground, a mating laboratory, and it would have people mating at specific times so they could continue to make babies. And it was a wealth of genes in that pool. In other words, it wasn't two people creating a baby and that baby would grow up with its own sister or its own mother to create another baby. They had created enough genetic material diversity, the genetic diversity, to allow the species to continue to replicate and produce on its own.